SAfm with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, anybody, just about anybody in advertising will know the name Andrew Yeoman. Goodness, if they don't know, you'd have a problem. He's the CEO of the Loeries. So you hope if you receive a Loerie one day, that he'd be handing it out. Unless he's retired, then that may be too long. Andrew is the CEO, so we're going to chat to him. 15 minutes spending time with him, getting to know him a little bit better. Andrew, good chatting to you. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah,
good morning.
Good. And before I get into who you are, let's just talk about Loeries 2015. I think it's opportunity talk now because that's just been launched, right?
Yes, our new campaign launched just this week.
Yeah. And expectations for this year?
Well, I think it's a very exciting year. You know, the most obvious thing is the big change after 6 years in Cape Town. Loeries is moving to Durban this year, and I think that's going to be very exciting and offering us a lot of opportunity to do some new things.
How would that mean the personality of the event will also change? Meaning, away from the beach and what have you, will the actual show change dramatically?
So let me ask you, Ashraf, how does Durban equate with away from the beach?
I don't know. We'll find out when I hopefully get there, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're getting closer to the beach than we've ever been before, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of the amazing things about Durban.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a truly great beachfront. It's a real beach city. And we're going to Durban proper itself, and I think a lot of people, I imagine the majority of your listeners, probably go, Durban, I haven't been there for years. That's the phrase that I hear the most often. And actually, Durban have had an amazing turnaround and transformation, I would say, in the last few years. And Durban today, the entire waterfront is a boardwalk promenade all the way from the harbour right up to Sun Coast Casino. And everything in between is renovated. It's beautiful gardens, it's clean, it's policed, it's safe. And these are words that, honestly, I can say you couldn't have said 10 years ago. So there is Durban today is a wonderful city, and it's going to give us the opportunity to really have everyone in one space, all within one walking distance from another on the beach.
Great. And I say from an agency point, I mean, it's quite simple. Just go to loeries.co.za to enter, right? And all the details will be there, right?
It's loeries.com.
.com. Okay, got that, right.
Yep.
Let's talk about you. So you've been the CEO of the Loeries for how many years?
Sure. This is actually, I think this is 11 years this year.
Wow. In an agency, or rather in a field where an advert, a month-old advert is too old, you've got this amazing sense of longevity, right? Why so?
That's a good question. one of those things I'd say, it's more fate than planning. I think I almost stumbled into the Loeries by chance 11 years ago.
Tell us what happened, yeah?
Well, I actually, for starters, I'm an engineer. I'm a scientist. I studied material science.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my doctorate in science. And then in the 90s really was the period of the digital boom, the dot-com boom. And through that, I got involved in digital technology. And I then, through digital media, I got involved in the industry, in advertising, marketing. And I worked in New York for 5 years, and there I began working with award shows in New York. And in 2005, the Loeries went through a bit of a hiccup and a difficult period, 2004, and I was invited in 2005 to come and head up the Loeries. And that was that, and I've been there ever since.
So first of all, what's happened to your scientist job then?
What's happened to it?
Yeah.
Well, again, that's a good question, because a lot of people say, well, isn't that like completely answer to very far removed? And I actually never think of it as very far removed at all, because, and it's one of the challenges in our society, we think the word, if we say, oh, he's creative, and we think creativity must be boxed. And generally, if somebody can draw pretty pictures, that's a consideration of creative. But one of the biggest creative minds the world has seen in the last century was who, Ashraf?
One
and
of the
everyone uses him as a who's the
I would say the Apple guy.
days?
Obviously, I would say the Apple one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is that
but
one
who was
example?
the Apple guy? Who was Steve Jobs' hero? Whose picture did he have up on his wall?
Who did he have? Did he have Newton or what?
He had Einstein on his wall.
Einstein, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
got that right.
So Einstein was a hero of Steve Jobs. And Einstein, everyone, he's the poster boy of creativity. But he's a physicist. So the point being is creativity isn't limited to a specific field. It's limited to a state of mind. And what we have to promote is innovation and ideas and thinking. And I started off working in a very creative area of science. And so I basically, to me, it's still the same process, and it's the process of continually challenging, continually doing new things, and continually rejecting ideas that are the norm. And that is really what one has to do if you're looking for the best ideas that are being generated in our environment.
And your point earlier on about, getting into this field, in fact, during that dot-com boom and getting into digital. So the fact that you're now with Loeries, in fact, has your creativity been enhanced by being where you are because you're not, creating adverts yourself? Or in fact, it is... Or has it been diminished? I mean, which one of the two? Because some may say from the outside, and it's a good way to correct any, shortcomings in terms of how we see things, right? Is you're very much the administrator. So what is it that you do?
Yeah, I agree, and absolutely again. So again, my role the Loeries it's on the one hand, it's an administrator, and that's absolutely correct, but it's not simply rubber stamping. The Loeries' role is also to inspire. So, you see, if you're simply saying, I don't care what you did, just give me whatever you did and we will put a rubber stamp on it, that's pure administration. If you have a role also to give people a message and to inspire them and to engage with them, that is really what our primary role is. So our role is to inspire people to do better work. But I agree with you. When it comes to measuring, we simply take all the work and we have a very neutral position, and we say, here, we actually, I don't even judge any work. So we manage a neutral process of having panels of judges, international jury chairmen, and simply ensuring then that the process is efficiently managed. But again, getting back to your administration, I'll give you a good example. Take SAfm as an example. That should purely be administration. So you get efficient administration and you get efficient, innovative administration where you're looking ahead, and you get administration where you're not looking beyond next week, and that can cause problems, as we all see when we have no power.
Yeah, indeed. Okay. 0891104207 if you wish to, if you wish to call in, quick calls, always welcome. Chatting to Andrew Newman, the CEO of the Loeries. 15 minutes spending time getting to know him. You can SMS to 34701. You can tweet at Ashraf Garda. By the way, Frank Mark, speaking slightly off the topic to a degree, saying, Durban, why? 30 years still, no high-speed train. Shocking. And another one saying the Durban beachfront is filthy. Who is this blathering idiot doctor on your show? What is he smoking? I'm sure you can handle that, Andrew. MZ saying, true, I was in Durban early December 2014. The beaches are clean and visible, policed. They're visibly policed all the time. Wish PE could ask how they did it, especially on safety. So there you are, another story coming out of that. But I don't want to waste time responding to that. The more important one, Pritesh Suraj from the Product of the Year was here a few minutes ago, and he said, I must ask you, because you made some important comments on the night that the awards were given out a few days ago. What is it that you said?
I think he's putting me on the spot there. I think some of those comments can't be said on radio, Ashraf.
well, I don't know. I need to ask.
The key point I made to people was that, again, it goes back to your question about what is the role of the Loeries and the role of an administration. And what I said at the Product of the Year Awards is, my challenge, I said to everyone there, is nice. Everyone thinks about nice, and you say, oh, this is a nice environment. I have a nice home. When you get up in the morning, do you want to get into a nice car? And I said, no, actually, that's not good enough. Nice isn't enough. What you need to do is you need to reject nice, and you have to say, I want something incredible. I want something that's absolutely awesome. So if I look at a Lamborghini, the Lamborghini is never going to be described as a nice car, is it? You're going to say, wow, that's an awesome car. So again, if you are really, and that is the difference between true innovation and just making things happen. So if you're looking on the innovative front of things and you're saying what is new and what is truly innovative, it should never be nice. And so if you're working in our area of brand communication, so if you're a marketer and you're a brand leader and you're a thought leader, you should try and say, okay, how am I going to go get up today and have a day that is absolutely not nice?
Okay, good. So nice is not nice. I mean, that's my big takeout from chatting to you right now.
That's pretty much it.
And therefore, you want to have a day that's absolutely not nice because it needs to be whatever else far more glorious than not nice. Yeah, got that.
Absolutely.
I think it works. It certainly works for me. Right. How do you seriously the night before the Loeries and the day after the Loeries? What goes through your mind? I've interviewed a few times on the day after. I don't know whether you've survived it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you work in that sort of time frame, and and you look forward to the day after. You often wonder about putting all your effort into something where you're only hoping to see the day after it. So the day after is always very rewarding, actually, because you get to really only relax at the first time at that point. So right until then you have, and again, we have an amazing team. Last year we had 500 people directly employed on the production during that week. So we have a fantastic, everyone from the producer down, there's a team working 24 hours on every little detail. And I think that's the key thing. So literally at the day before, I'm not even doing anything. I'm simply then watching the team go to work and doing what they do.
Has being involved in the Loeries taken the fun out of advertising for you?
Actually, the upside is you only work on the best work, and I think that's one of the real upsides if you look across advertising, the sad thing is you see a lot of bad work. There's an enormous amount of, if you get in your car and you drive home today, Ashraf, which billboard do you remember? Which one is memorable?
Can't remember any of them at the moment, quite honestly, but that's your point.
That's often, that is the real challenge. And to say, which digital media is really working, who's communicating well, and who's communicating in a way that they're engaging with their audience, and their audience are enjoying it and appreciating it. So at least the upside, so the Loeries, we get about 3,000 entries, and of those 3,000, less than only around 1% get a gold Loerie. So what you're doing is you're filtering, and you're taking 3,000 of the best pieces from across the region, and then you're filtering to saying only a handful of those are actually being awarded a statue. So the upside of it is you get every year to be inspired by seeing every year who's doing the best work across the whole
you're
industry.
Inspired
I enjoy that.
You're inspired and not bored, right? What, the earlier point that you joined the Loeries at a time when it was going through a trough, right? And interesting, I was reading some things about you the other day, and to say that you effectively single-handedly have turned around the Loeries, so made it certainly not nice. Loeries is now not nice, for example, but on the other hand, turned it into an entire week-long event. That means it's become a great brand where therefore cities like whether it Cape Town or Durban can vie to host the Loeries in a way that it probably never was so before. How do you personally feel about it? I mean, do you take the credit for that, firstly?
Well, again, of course, I'm happy to take the credit. Thanks, Ashraf. Yeah, it's all my doing. It's mine.
Yeah, of course.
So, seriously, again, always there's a lot of people involved. And one of the things is the Loeries is a not-for-profit association. So we have a very committed and passionate board and a working committee, and it's all people from the industry. And I think what happened in 2005 is exactly that. A group of people between the ACA and the Creative Circle, that they were actually the drivers behind it, and they said, we're not going to let this fail. And it was their determination to kickstart the Loeries in the beginning of 2005, and they're the ones who brought me on board. But I've been working, there's some members on our board who've been there since the onset. People like Mike Shalit and Russell Corey have both been on the board since 2005, and they've both been passionately involved in all our decisions throughout. So there are a lot of people who obviously support this, which is important.
So to confirm, the Loeries now, in your opinion, is not nice, it's what? How would you describe it?
I would say exciting is where you would want to be in our position. We want to be exciting and inspiring.
What for you? We've got about 2 minutes to go. The 3 best adverts, not that were awarded, that you've just personally enjoyed.
That's always a tough question off the bat. So let me give it some thought. Off the top of my head, I'd say we had a Grand Prix many years ago, in one of the first years, that was Virgin Atlantic's Love Story, television commercial. I don't know if you remember it.
Just refresh my memory, yeah?
So it was very clever. It was two gay guys with the Bee Gees music playing in the background, and they were sort of having this very romantic encounter, and right at the end they're getting married and they're about to kiss, and this guy wakes up from a bad dream, and he's sitting in a squashed airplane seat, and it says, if you wanted to sleep with him, you would have married him, because he's got a guy lying all over him, and it says Virgin Atlantic upper class, which gives you more room. So I remember the punchline, I remember everything about it, and that's what makes for a great ad. But the ad was clever because it was at a time where same-sex marriages were illegal in South Africa. So this is the point about the industry again. If you are culturally relevant. So to be communicating properly, you have to be understanding who you're communicating to. So you have to be South African, talking to South Africans about things that are relevant. So besides it being a humorous ad, it was politically very relevant at the time, and I've always thought it was an excellent ad.
And certainly made a difference for you. Where do you hang out?
I hang out at home, and I refuse to go anywhere else.
Well, it's an interesting point you raised, because you're right. Some people, you see them at the function virtually 3 times a week. Now, outside the Loeries and the fact that you were the product of the year the other day, when I think about it, you're spot on. I hardly see you elsewhere. So what is it? I mean, and there's a deliberate reason why you do that, right? Tell me why.
Well, actually, I live in the Rosebank area, and I must say I think it's one of the nicest urban districts in South Africa, and it's also an area that has been. So funny, one of your listeners was going on about the high-speed train, and the Gautrain has a Rosebank station, and the Rosebank and Sandton stations have transformed the areas around them. And Rosebank around that station is a beautiful urban district. I walk everywhere from my house. I walk into Rosebank. I walk to the cinema. I walk to restaurants. There's virtually nothing that I do that I get in my car. So if I have to get in my car and drive somewhere, then I generally decline.
Now, often tell people, if you need to find me, I'll either be, that's on the weekend, either at Sandton City or in Rosebank. Now, why have I never bumped into you in Rosebank? I have no idea. I mean, I live 4 kilometers from there, so there you are.
Well, what you must do is next time you're in the Rosebank Centre, send me a message, and we'll meet up for a coffee.
We'll probably have to do that. Yeah. All right, couple of more things. What's the one thing about you we don't know that you feel you'd like to just make a point and tell people about you?
I can't tell you that, Ashraf, because I'd get arrested.
Is it that bad?
I'm sure it must be.
Yeah. All right. You'll get arrested. Right. Lastly, in terms of, there was a period that you had resigned a couple of years ago from the Loeries, and then you came back without actually leaving. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I headed towards the front door and I didn't make it out, and I was dragged back in again. So
what is the plan when you were resigning? What is your plan next? And what's your remaining career goals?
I think it probably was that tipping point that I think I reached that point and I thought it was time to move on and do something else. And then when I was in the process of doing it, that's when the Loeries board sat with me and convinced me to stay. And actually it was, I think, just at that point where we really grew the Loeries to the next level. So as you were saying, the Loeries has become a whole creative week. Just a few years ago, the award, we used to judge in Johannesburg and then have an award somewhere else in the country a few months later. So now we have judging and the awards and a fantastic international seminar and a lot of workshops all happening in the same week. So I think that's what gave me the challenge and the interest to stay on, was really growing it from a simple award ceremony into a whole week of inspiration, and also that this goes beyond one area of brand communication. So what's nice now is not only is it a week, but we get something like 30% of our delegates are from the brand side. You know, it's not simply, a lot of people think it's just about agencies and just creative departments, but we have CEOs and marketing directors and designers and architects. So, and thought leadership is really who comes to the week now, and also from all across the continent.
Absolutely.
So that is really the exciting part.
All right, lastly, it's this time of the year, people deciding what to do with their careers in terms of where they're going to go, especially youngsters, right? Why should someone, in your opinion, I'm giving you a pitch, right? Why should someone enter the advertising industry? So
that's a very good question, and funnily enough, I was just reading an article where a lot of people again think, oh, creative, you have to be passionate. There's no money in advertising. There's no money in creativity. So Martin Sorrell, and I'm sure you know Sir Martin Sorrell. He spoke at Davos a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that's right.
And I think what you probably don't know about Sir Martin Sorrell, well, first of all, he's the head of WPP.
Absolutely, a global agency.
WPP is the biggest agency in the world. He is in 111 countries, and I think employs something like 180,000 people worldwide. And he is the single highest paid executive in the United Kingdom, and his annual income is £30 million per annum.
So there is money in advertising. I mean, is that your answer?
So my answer is, if you think it's a career for people who make no money, then look at Martin Sorrell. So the peak of the industry, he is the highest paid earner in the United Kingdom as the head of an ad agency.
All right,
so if you want to be the highest paid earner in South Africa, then head up a successful advertising.
Okay, so short answer. If anybody wants to get into advertising, just Google Martin Sorrell with a S-O, I think RROS, and they'll know exactly.
No, it's S-O-R-R-E-L. Sorrell.
Okay, got that. Yeah, thank you so much for that, for correcting me. Andrew, great chatting to you. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashraf.
Said 15 minutes with Andrew Human. It's probably 20 minutes with Andrew Human, but I'm sure you've enjoyed that as well. Martin Sorrell, by the way, is that name, right? CEO here. Andrew Human.